Hello and welcome to Messages of Love and Peace. I am Carolina, your host, and today I have a very special episode. We got together with three of my friends and we decided to talk about overwhelm, and we're going to share tips and our experiences, and I think it's going to be very interesting for you guys. So let's enjoy.
And Carolina, when she and I chatted a couple days ago, um, it's just a simple, chat here. Great content, and there's four women here from four different areas and spaces, but same heart and same problem with overwhelm, same problems. And actually looked up the definition for overwhelm this morning because I was like, I kind of like doing that. And it literally is some really interesting synonyms for overwhelm is to upset or to overthrow. And so I'm picturing a cup of coffee, and all of a sudden, when it spills over, it is no longer contained and serving its purpose. It's everywhere and it's a mess and it's hot.
Mm.
And now I have to change my shirt. Maybe I've stained it and I haven't found the perfect stain remover thing yet. So now that, like, there's all these
Let's
different
move that
elements.
video overwhelmed and like
Yeah. But yeah, so it's interesting to look at the definition of overwhelm. And okay, another one is to overwhelm completely or to overcome completely in mind or feeling. And of course, there's the positive side of overwhelm. I'm overwhelmed with joy. My sister just had a baby or something like that, you know. And so you're obsessed is one of the things that I kind of think is a synonym. But there's um, one of one of Heidi's words that she likes to use, to heap. We don't really use that in the States, but you say heap. One of the definitions of dictionary.com says to load, heap, or treat or address with an overpowering or excessive amount of anything. So when
okay.
we're
So to add too much
to
to
add just too
Yeah,
much.
so I guess an overflow cup is just a perfect example of overwhelm.
yeah.
You
And I think
can't drink it.
all entrepreneurs kind of overwhelm themselves at times, right? We all take on too much at
Mm.
And
times.
we feel we can do too much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And we wish we could do more all the time. Like there's
And
just
it's
always
never
going to be.
enough.
Yep. Yeah.
You're like, yes, that's us.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's that analogy of like how we're in for a marathon, not a short sprint. Like being an entrepreneur is like running a marathon, and you like, yeah, there's like a sense of urgency and excitement and enthusiasm. But if you like put it all out, then you just don't have the resources for the long haul, the long, like true journey. So yeah, I think it's a lot about pacing
Yep.
and grounding and like daily kind of ways that we kind of keep ourselves nourished and fed for the that long haul versus
Mm-hmm.
the like giving everything and then being drained and exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And I think there's like a balance thing that needs to happen between thinking long term and thinking big picture and being in the trenches on that given day, on a given day where you just want to get like so much done and you just can't see how you can get it all done. And instead, if you look at it like on the days you're feeling like, really big picture thinking, you can see how it all is going to work out. But at the time, it doesn't feel like it sometimes because you're just letting yourself get too in the trenches, too overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm. I have a question actually, because I realize that the folks who are going to watch this later will know one of us, but not the other three. So, would it make sense to just go around and maybe give a little bit of a premise for who we are? Like we're four women from the East Coast, Florida, Seattle, and Vancouver. And we met because we all had a common interest in course creation. So that's how we met. But maybe, and the top of my screen is Shannon. Could you just share what is your niche? And then we could just go around and just provide a little bit of a picture for whoever's listening.
Yep. I'm a tech expert and online business strategist who helps overwhelmed online entrepreneurs become their more productive selves by leveraging tech and systems. So that's what I
Very
do. I help
important.
people. I do coaching, and I have a course, and I help folks streamline and simplify and automate.
And I'm a pianist from Seattle, and I also love to help people to get out of their heads and into their hearts and to learn how to be uniquely creative the way that they have been uniquely designed. And so I perform in public, and I also do live streams and other content that's directed to helping to connect other people with their unique flow. So, and for sure, every artist I talk to is always overwhelmed. And there's some stuff that I've been thinking about, even just with personal health, that is very applicable. And Heidi, which made me excited that we're going to be talking with you as well. You've got a real niche with health.
Yeah, thanks, Kelsey. Well, I'm a naturopathic doctor and have been in practice for about 20 years. And before that, and kind of still during, I work as a chef. And so I love clinical nutrition and inspiring people to make positive changes in their lifestyle, diet, that can really, add up to feeling more grounded and more whole and meeting their goals. And so I work a lot one-on-one, but I also love working with groups and doing courses and classes. And my goal is really to empower people, not just with the medicine, like the capsules, the pills, the potions that transform their physical health, but also, gaining the knowledge and the tools to make positive, practical changes that on a daily basis can really enhance their lives.
Beautiful. Beautiful. We're already learning so much from each other already. I've been loving
Yes.
these chats.
I was gonna say there's things that I didn't know about each one of you.
Cool. Carolina.
Okay, so I'm a book author, and my goal is to help people find a coping mechanism in God that is a way of relieving themselves from worriness, from overwhelm, and just finding true joy and finding a way of becoming a beings of light. That we all have a light within. It's just a matter of polishing all the things we have on top of ourselves and let that shine spread to the world and just enlighten your life and the life of those around you. So that's pretty much what I'm about, and I do that through books, courses, workshops, whatever way I can spread a message of positivity. That's where I'm at.
In 2 languages, you guys.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
Not just one, but
Yes.
2.
Everything is English and Spanish, so double work for me. Every time I do something, everything's double.
Yeah.
Like having twins.
Yeah, I have twins.
Oh, there you go. You should know.
I relate to that.
They're 11, right, Shannon?
They are. Yep.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
just got home from
Preteens.
school, actually.
Man. Oh, that's right, because you're
Half
3
day.
hours ahead. It's
Yeah.
it's 9 a.m. for where we are.
They have a half day. It's noon, so yep, that's good.
Well, I think that's a pretty good segue into like, okay, Shannon, you have twins, and you're an entrepreneur. So do you have any pearls of wisdom from your own practice? Like what helps you to kind of reduce overwhelm or how to, get through the day when there's a lot on your plate?
Yeah, I think I'd have to say that like being super intentional really helps me a lot. That has been the biggest game changer for me to create balance in my life, is to really be intentional with my time. There was a time before I got into this business, before I pivoted my business a little bit, when I was completely in the trenches. I had 2 blogs, and I was just a crazy hard worker who just thought, 60 hours was what I was supposed to do. And my kids were little and it was hard to do. And I was always feeling stressed. And I finally hit a wall and figured out that intentionality and like simplicity and streamlining and automating and all those things could actually relieve a person. And you can have a business that is successful and kids if you become a little bit more intentional with your time and where you spend your focus. So that's been a real game changer for me. and my clients. Now I teach people how to do it because I have such passion in trying to help other women really succeed in their businesses without the business enveloping their lives. Like it's really important that we all love our business and love our life. And so it's definitely it's a forever goal, as I call it. Like, you're always going to be working on it, right?
That's true. Just putting the priorities together. I think that's where you're kind of the whole goal of focusing your time in the right place is putting your priorities together, and so you know what to do and when to do it.
Yes. And it reduces overwhelm too, right? Because if you go back to your why, or you go back to the intentions you are putting forth, then it helps you with making decisions on your time.
Exactly. Rather than whatever comes first, you just do it.
Less reaction, right? Less reactionary behavior.
Important urgency, and putting your priorities together.
Yeah.
What's that quadrant
Of course, there's
called?
days like that. What?
Do you guys know what I'm talking about? That grid of 4, where you have
The
the
Eisenhower
important,
matrix.
that.
The
Yes.
Eisenhower matrix is great, though. I love that because it does help people take a minute to go, you know what? This isn't as urgent as I thought it was. This is technically non-urgent. I could schedule this.
Can you explain how that works? I never heard that before.
Yeah, absolutely. It's you break your to-do list down into 4 quadrants, and one is a do it, and the other is a schedule it. So it's like the top left is do it, and the next is schedule it, and then below do it is delegate it, and below schedule it is eliminate it. And you put each one of the things into that category so you can kind of determine what is really urgent or not. And so the do it is an urgent, important quadrant, and the schedule is the less urgent, like a non-urgent. So examples of do it would be like completing, you have to send an invoice, like, you have to get paid, right? So that's a do it now. But schedule it could be like, I really need to complete this course. So for example, that's personal development. I could schedule time to do that later. And then delegate it would be like maybe scheduling your social media. Could be somebody else could do that, or uploading some content for you. That could be just somebody else could take that off your plate. And then eliminate it could be like maybe scrolling social media, or consuming more information than you create. That's something we all fall into. And I think in general in life is consuming, is because we're just like inundated with information, right? So it's easy to get into that. So it's
I never heard that. That's pretty neat. I'll try that.
yeah, it's called the Eisenhower matrix if you want to Google it or look it up. It's also on my website. I have a blog post on it, and a post, multiple posts on my social media about it.
Yeah.
It's really good.
How can we, if we want to do that, do we just, what are your handles?
It's Shannon Gaither, and it's like gather with an I. So it's GAITHER.
Great. Yes.
So all of it,
And then,
my email, everything is the same.
awesome. And Shannon, if somebody wants to look at your blog post, is there a search function where they could type in like matrix?
Yep.
Just think the matrix, and then if you forget Eisenhower, just think matrix, and then you'll find
Just
it.
think like you're going like this, like you know how it does that famous scene, and this is all your stuff coming at you. You're like,
Perfect. Got your next
avoiding all the bullets.
the bullets, yes. Neo, right?
Oh, that's a great way to remember.
Yeah. Well, Heidi, we had fun this last week listening to you and your friend Helena, right?
Yeah.
Chatting about self-care, and you guys had some really great tips. And you had mentioned something that was really interesting about bookending and beginning and ending your day. And I was wondering if that would be something that would be interesting to talk about here as well. I thought that was really insightful.
I did too.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people I think have the idea of having a morning routine, and also because I think a lot of us are having challenges with sleep, maybe getting deep, solid, restorative sleep, or sometimes falling asleep. That people will have a bedtime routine. So the idea of bookending is beginning and ending your day with something that's steady and sturdy, like some practices that are just set up that are kind of part of a routine. Because I think, in the middle of the day, we all have a lot of things going on and lots of unexpected things, especially if we're in transition times, like if we're moving or change of a job or relationship or taking something new on, like a new project. Definitely as an entrepreneur, there's probably always transition happening too. So I think of like the bookends being these like steady practices that can hold up like a tippy life wherever there's like gravity is not keeping things, upright. These two bookends can. And so that might be beginning the day with meditation or deep belly breathing or journaling. Or lately I've been talking a lot about doing like something like the morning pages, if you've ever heard of the book The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. She many years ago wrote about this idea of just, if you're trying to be a writer, you're trying to write, say we're writing blogs or whatever, is just first thing in the morning having a routine where you have a blank page and you just write. It's almost like automatic writing, where you're not writing to like actually read what you've written. The goal is just to brain dump. So like whatever's circulating in your mind that you need to get out and off, so that you can then maybe be productive and write the actual thing. So automatic writing, I've heard other people like Gabby Bernstein, she calls it like rage on the page. So if you've got concerns or worries or like something you're sorting through or relationships, you just like write. And again, it's not to like actually read your handwriting. So sometimes it doesn't even look like your handwriting. Sometimes it just is like, who did that? So it's just kind of like almost like just downloading and releasing. So that's something I find often quite helpful. If I don't wake up on what do they call that? The right side of the bed? Right side of the bed, is that it? Yeah. So that's the morning bookend, one of those activities. And then my evening is really my favorite bookending. And that's where I often have a bath. And if I don't have time for like an Epsom salt bath, which has magnesium in it, nice and relaxing for the nervous system and the muscles too. If I'm not kind of bath mode, I still will have a shower, because I like to like shower off, release, wash off whatever happened in the day. And because I work with people a lot who are, having pain or disharmony, like that's why they're seeking my services. I feel like I really need to like remove kind of all the stories and all the stuff that I've been percolating through the day. And what I do before those is I do this dry skin brushing, which I know I talked about quite a bit in that, but it's just getting a soft bristle brush, like a loofah or a soft bristle brush that's got a long handle on it, and it's doing small strokes where the goal is not exfoliation, but it's to stimulate circulation. And so it's small circles like up each extremity towards your heart, and it really does help with skin health, which a lot of us kind of, our goal is to have healthy, glowing skin, whether it's like reducing things like acne or eczema, like wherever there might be a skin issue that shows up, you don't actually have to go in that particular area. But because our skin is our largest organ of elimination, it's really great for overall health to just give it a little bit of attention. And I also think of that being a way to kind of brush off the day, whatever might have accumulated and whatever I want to kind of get rid of. And then of course, other people might like listening to something, like listening to a guided meditation before bed. Like a half hour is great to have no screen time, just because that's so stimulating to our nervous system, the visuals. And it's not even just the blue light. I know a lot of us have probably heard about, blue light, we got to avoid that before bed, but it's also just the changing images on like our tablet, our TV, our phone, like whatever it is. We want to have at least a half hour window of no external visual stimulation. But audio is great. So listening, to like a bedtime story, or guided meditation, or like maybe a soothing, nourishing, or lighthearted podcast, if you're not into the kind of spiritual end of the spectrum. But one thing I love, I don't know if you guys have ever tried, is yoga nidra. It's like Oh
Learned about
yeah.
this a few months ago. Really
Oh,
cool.
Yes.
What is
awesome.
Sleep
that?
You know,
better than ever. Sleep so well when you listen
yeah.
to those going to sleep.
You know what's so great? I have a number of people who I talk to about doing this, and they're like, okay, I'll check it out, like on Insight Timer. Like there's a bunch of different apps that will have these, or you could, I'm sure, just YouTube it. But they're like, it's really, really working. But you know what? I have actually no idea what yoga nidra is because I fall asleep within like 5 to 10 minutes. So
I have
I
no
don't even
idea what it
know.
is. Tell me what it is.
Anyway, so I find those are really helpful, the book ending, like just putting those practices in my day so that whatever shows up in the middle of the day, whatever's happening, I kind of have that firm foundation to fall back on. So
I love
that's
that.
my tip.
I
It's
look
nice.
forward to doing the guided imagery to sleep. I use Insight Timer, but I don't have more things in that. Like that's it, but I look forward to it. And I think that I'm going to do the dry brushing at night. I've already started, but I haven't been doing it at night. But and the morning pages is such a good idea.
Oh, especially if you're writing, right? If you're coming up with copy and, blogs and yeah.
I think it's nice to have something to look forward to like that too. It's like, oh, I can't wait to get in bed and listen to my meditation.
With a hot beverage, the morning pages is my favorite thing.
My mother, I just want to add one thing about morning pages. My mother used to do it when she was with us, and she would open Word and just brain dump all her thoughts down and then close Word. And then she would start writing because she was a storyteller. She liked to storytell. And so she would write her stories and stuff, but she loved to brain dump it all out and then just close Word and not save it and just feel like the release of it. So there's a way to do it even if you're not writing, if you want to do it on the computer too. Like
I would probably still save it, but just put it somewhere I couldn't find it.
that's me.
I might need that
That's what
idea
digital
later.
hoarders.
It's hoarders, I know.
I am too. I'm a
Shannon,
saver.
I need you, girl.
That's because we're the same in that way. It's hard not to say.
It is. Yeah. But then you end up having so many things that are good ideas, but oh my goodness, if you picture each good idea, like even a reel, this is something I love to do, is I will make collections on Instagram and I call them home hacks, gardening tips,
Me too.
just 20 of them, right? And I was thinking about this the other day. If I were to attribute a 5-pound weight to each reel that I watch, it's very manageable on its own. It's like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. But you stack a couple of them on each other, and I think of weight in terms of like, can I actually get to this in my day? Could I do something with this gardening hack? Well, no, I don't actually own big boxes that I could put a trellis in and then do the whole thing that I just saw this morning. But maybe I will someday, and I don't want to forget. And so then I keep it. But then I find that I attribute a little level of guilt to each little thing that I don't do.
And
And
that
this
weighs
is,
on you.
yes. Well, and this is also something that I wanted to share thinking about overwhelm, which is whenever there's guilt in the picture, it means that there's some standard I'm holding myself to that often I find I don't investigate that to see is this true or not. It's just something. And maybe it's totally arbitrary. Maybe it's somebody else's good idea and it works for them. But I haven't actually compared that to me and who I am. What is my pace? It's my race. What is my heartbeat? How do I resonate? And I've been thinking about hustle culture and how it's just there's such a value for more. You can fit in another 5 minutes here, fit in another 5 minutes there, 5 pounds here, 5 pounds there, 1,000,000 pounds. We're just scooshed, and there's just no way. And then all of a sudden, I'm looking up from all of these different expectations, and I just wanted to share this because this is encouragement I'm processing through right now is for my sake. What is it that I actually resonate at? What is it that I feel called to do? And Heidi, this last week you're talking about how there's no well, that my verbiage is answer key. I think you said owner's manual or
Oh
user's
yeah.
manual.
Yeah, we don't come into this world with an owner's manual. Yeah.
Yeah. So, oh my goodness. And I've been really processing lately how it's true that there's really not an owner's manual for what Kelsey is supposed to do with her creativity. I have a lot of good ideas from other people. I have a lot of, ooh, you shoulds. And I know there's like books been written about not shitting on people, but I'll take all that weight. And so then like the spine of my personality is crushing, and I've not been getting adjustments where I'm pulling it back out. So I'm realizing that one of the things that can be so overwhelming for an artist, and this is just one little thing, a takeaway, is and I think this really translates to any form of focus. So whether it's in the business world or homemaking, that it's important to look at each expectation and look at the energy underneath it. And if there's a sense of rushing, to inquire as to why the rush. And I'm sure, Heidi, you have a lot of better explanations for why this might be, but why the rush? Why the adrenaline kick where all of a sudden, I mean, there's no reason that I need to worry about fitting in a quick smoothie here before my next call. Just grab a, drink of water. It's like every little thing can be such a big thing. And then to the extreme of thinking about building a course and then having every single module bells and whistles decked out the way I see other people do it, and it's perfecto, and it just looks beautiful, and it's ornate, and it's impressive. But why? And also, I heard recently another gal, Masha Goins, talking about content that serves my community and thinking about, well, maybe it's really impressive and it follows the system, but maybe it doesn't serve the busy mama. For example, her community, she was serving busy mamas in COVID, and they didn't have time to do a huge course, but they could do a little bite size. And so sometimes that little bite size is actually the best. You have the good, and then you have the best. And so whenever we feel that tension, and I'm really working on doing this, even this morning with this, there's a packed schedule, but why the adrenaline underneath it? And just to notice, I'm starting to have that awareness. I'm finding it's helping a lot. Yeah.
I think it's just a matter of going within ourselves and finding our why rather than everyone else's why and everyone else's strategy and everyone else, what works for them. I think we just get lost sometimes in the noise of social media and the noise of everything, especially when we're getting overwhelmed with trying to get advice from every single person to see what's going to work. And we're getting stressed out because we're getting overwhelmed. So I think that at least for me, going to a quiet place and quiet my mind and say, what is it going to work for me? It doesn't matter that it doesn't work for anyone else. I just wanted it to work for me. So I do like what you guys were saying, like having a routine in the morning. I do a prayer routine in the morning, and that's when I try to quiet my mind and say, what is my intention for today? So I try not to let the outside noise come into my life and overwhelm me, even though it's very hard to deal. But if we are used to going within ourselves, and because it's very quiet when we just shut up at our thoughts, it's very quiet and we get that inner wisdom. So I think it's just a matter of going within ourselves and try not to do what everyone else is doing, which we could get great ideas. I'm not saying that's wrong, but we just have to see what works for us. We could gather all those ideas, and instead of trying them at once, just go within and say, okay, how do I feel about this? How does this feel? Let me try it for a day. Let me try it tomorrow. I don't want, because I'm the typical person that tries to put everything right. Like I need to start eating better, exercising, meditating, all doing yoga, doing like all those things at once. And then it's like, okay, is this really going to work for me? That's when I have to stop and say, okay, I'm overwhelming myself, trying to not getting overwhelmed. So I think just a matter of going within ourselves and finding answers for what works for us and try one thing at a time, and rather than perfection, just look for it gives us peace and joy.
I love that. What a neat common thread as well. This is why I love chatting with you ladies. I look forward to Friday mornings.
Because yeah, we all have such different backgrounds, but I think yeah, we often come across like a common
Mhm.
theme, and and we have different insights, but yeah, I think they really resonate.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And The Artist's Way, you said that was the book, Heidi, by Julia Cameron.
Hmm.
I've been jotting some notes.
Yeah.
I always jot notes as we chat. Invariably, I need a better system, but I ended up, just
Oh,
post it sticky everywhere.
I'm doing the
me
same
too.
thing.
I know
Yeah.
you guys always have all these like cool little like systems and strategies and things
Like,
that I need to like assemble in a little like one pager, because I got, yeah, sticky notes everywhere.
Yep. Yeah. No, it's good. But also, I think that's part of what I mean with the collections of the reels. And what encourages me is that there's always going to be good ideas coming down the pike. There's always going
look
to
at
be fresh reimagining of time old, age old, concepts. Everybody is going to have a beautiful take on the 90-day planner. And so I don't have to worry about stashing 10 of them, because when it's time, I can have faith that the right one will come to me. And like even tips for parenting. I don't have kids yet. We're not pregnant yet, but I have a whole collection saved of all these different things for like baby tips. But I can trust that all the things will come when we need. And so I was just kind of curious, maybe this would be a nice little way to wrap up our little thing here about overwhelm. Is what comes easiest? What when does it feel the most natural to be encouraged by yourself? Because I think ultimately we need, in those moments when we're overwhelmed, we can't phone a friend often, or we need a quick checkup from the neck up. So what's a way that you help to calm yourself down, that maybe could be a takeaway?
Hmm.
I'll tell you what I do. I try to take steps away from my take little mini breaks, and just kind of, well, I like to do stretches and stuff for energy, but I look at it for energy, but it's really more than that. But I think just taking little breaks gives me less overwhelm, less feeling like I'm just inundated constantly, because it kind of stops me. And especially if I can get outside. If I can get outside, it's the best. If I can just stepping out. And sometimes I'll just, and this is kind of work too, I guess, but I'll step on the back deck and take video of my backyard for a reel. but I'm doing it looking at nature. So I'm like, I feel
Are you multitasking, Shannon?
I
I
do the
feel
same on
better
my
after.
balcony, so I think just being out in nature is just a great way to just unwind a little bit.
It
Yeah.
is so soothing. Yeah. For me, it's there are like techniques to get into rest and digest that I do throughout my day when I'm feeling like, Kelsey, like you mentioned, that adrenaline. Like, why am I in adrenaline? Why is there a sense of urgency? And if I know that that's not going to serve me, that I'm not going to be that productive and clear thinking if I'm in that hustle kind of mentality, which is overwhelm, I'll do some physical things that will tell my body that I have the luxury to be in rest and digest. So one of the quick, easy things that nobody ever needs to know you're doing is the deep belly breathing, also known as diaphragmatic breathing, which a lot of people or singers know all about. So that's one thing. And then if that's not cutting it, because sometimes that's not enough. And say I need to, I'm going to have a meal, like my lunch. Often when I'm at work, I'm like been super busy multitasking before, and I'm feeling that kind of like a little bit anxious. And I'm like, oh no, I want to be in rest and digest mode to like break down my food, because I've got a super healthy salad with garbanzo beans and I want to like access the nutrients. I want to get the benefits out of my great food choices. So if I feel like I've been in fight or flight, but I need to be in rest and digest, like I need my nervous system to kind of come down, I'll actually do this yoga practice. It's called legs up the wall. Have you guys ever heard of that? It's in like restorative yoga often. And so if you're lying down, if you have, the space where you could do this, it's really great. So you just lie down, your back and your bum is right against the wall. Your legs are up. And so your physical body says, well, if I have the luxury to lie down like this with my chest exposed, I'm not being chased by a bear in the wilderness. So I can shuttle all my resources into rest and digest. So making my neurotransmitters, my digestive juices, it just really turns the system into the down mode. So if deep belly breathing isn't cutting it, then I'll go to that physical cue where my body has no choice but to say, oh yeah, I'm not needing this adrenaline business.
That's interesting to hear like the physical aspect, like the scientific explanation of how and why we relax in certain positions. Because sometimes I do feel relaxed when I'm doing meditation, but I feel it's meditating. But there is also the physical explanation and scientific things behind it. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
That's such a quick way. I love that it's quick.
Yeah. Because it's like mentally we can tell ourselves all the things, right?
Sometimes you need that though, when you're off and you're off and you especially when you need to show up for something like you need to show up for something with certain energy. I find setting my intentions before things and practicing gratitude helps me with that, but I've never had a physical thing I could do like that. That's really neat.
Well, it's so funny because I talk all day about this, like all day and all night about needing to be in rest and digest mode. But the act of doing it sometimes puts me into fight or flight because I'm so passionate about it and I'm multitasking and I'm writing down milligrams of this or that and looking at labs. And then I go to eat my lunch and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to practice what I preach here.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes. Wow.
That's why I have these like strategies, because otherwise I'm just like, yeah, we're all similar in that we're taking on a lot. And it does kick our adrenaline up and we do get into that fight or flight mode pretty easily, especially in the world right now, right? I just think this overwhelm is like, it's just a very common theme that I'm hearing about.
It's just too much information at once. I feel I didn't feel that way before. I don't know if because I was younger or because I wasn't on social media and I have 1,000 videos I could watch on YouTube, 1,000 different shows I could watch on Netflix. So it's like this amount of information that we can consume and we feel like we need, and plus we have to work, and there's so many things we could be doing at the same time that I think it just brings us more overwhelming, more than we need, obviously.
One of my favorite things to do is it's super simple, is just connect with something physical. So this is my take on the physicality, but it's with food and taste, because I love food. I love all of that, and I love to sit and I'll just have a cup of tea or something that I can watch the steam coming up from, and it allows me to be in the moment because I know the steam is here for now, but it won't always be. And so it's helping me to appreciate the moment, because if I don't, it goes. And there are even seasons of project inspiration where they sometimes have an expiration date. Like, for example, shooting in a coffee shop and still not releasing the music video a couple years later can lead to some anxiety. This is true story, actually, of, is this video still relevant? Because I don't know if the coffee shop will still be as happy for me to release that as when I first shot it back in 2020. And there are certain things to appreciate in the moment that, like steam, serve their purpose. And I used to, when I was a kid, store all the bath salts I'd get from aunties and grandmas at Christmas time, and I never used them. And I will never forget, I had these little lemon scented gel shower or bath gel bears, and I kept them in a little drawer for maybe like 2 years, and then they dried up and then popped, and I never used them because I wasn't sure when the right time would be to appreciate them the most, which is ridiculous. So I think sometimes we just, what's that, Shannon?
I relate to that. I had like beautiful wine glasses from my wedding that I haven't used, and I went to a friend's house, and I've been married 18 years. So when I went to my friend's house and she broke up those wine glasses and served in them, same kind, I was like, why am I not using these? It's been 18 years.
Wow.
So I immediately pulled them down, washed them, and put them into circulation.
Awesome. Way to go. That's
For
great.
that
Yeah.
same reason, like that's the same
Yeah.
thing. Like you're saving, but you should I guess there's two lessons there, right? There's the lesson of like taking appreciating it in the moment as it is because it will expire,
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
That reminds me when I first moved to the apartment I'm right now, I have a view to the sunset. And before the first time that I was seeing sunsets every day. So it's like, I'm going to sit with a glass of wine, I'm going to relax and enjoy it. By the time I got to see the sunset, it was gone. I was like, oh my God, they last like literally a few minutes. And it happened to me so many times. Like this time I'm going to be faster. I'm going to start preparing earlier. And it's like, man. And now I'm like, I don't care if I have wine. I don't care if it's the perfect beverage and the perfect position. I'm just going to go and enjoy it. And I just stopped wasting time getting prepared to have the perfect setup for this. So I think we just sometimes looking for perfect moments or perfect things, and we just missed the essence of what we're trying to do.
Mic drop.
wow,
Boom.
that was
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
I can
Well,
see so many analogies in my life that I can see that connect to that, like, you know, that trying to get everything perfect.
mhm.
Yeah, and it will never be. We just have to enjoy and
And it
remember
takes away
the
from the
essence.
enjoyment.
Exactly. So after missing a lot, I just went back to the essence of what I was trying really to do instead of the other things that weren't as important as the actual sunset. So maybe just getting back to the why, which is what we talk about at the beginning, getting back to our why and thinking, what is it, our true essence? What is it that we're really trying to do rather than all the little things around that aren't as important as the essence of what we're doing.
Hmm. So good.
That
So good. Well,
always so
ladies,
good to see you guys.
yeah, thank you all so much for sharing those tips. And from, I mean, I was just quickly scrolling and I didn't even catch everything we were talking about, but physical great tips to going back to our why, no matter what industry that we talk about, and no matter whether it's organizing or personal health, spiritual development, creativity, all of it is connected because we are connected beings. And so I
Yeah.
hope that no matter what form our friends, our listeners are going to be thinking about in your own lives, friends, but just be encouraged that it's a journey, it's not a race, and also just enjoy your own story and the myth of being able to hold all those 5 pounds, at least my myth. It's not true. We can't do it. We crush under the weight. So snip the expectations and only do what comes to you. I think that is how all these things really best serve us. So thanks for
Yeah.
listening. Thanks for joining our chat. We just are so happy to give you guys a window in to how awesome. I love being able to talk with you ladies. Thanks again for sharing your wisdom.
You
Thank you,
guys.
Kelsey, Carolina,
Fun.
Shannon.